This time we will learn about built-in data types, strings, booleans and numbers. So first, let's see how to define a variable. To declare a variable, we just have to assign it a value. We don't need to mention its type or declare it beforehand. So over here I have declared two variables with the values, and we can see the values by the print messages on the terminal. So as you can see, the two variables x and y has the respective values 5 and dioc. Now in Python, names of the variables have some restrictions. So a variable name cannot contain space. Also, it cannot start with a number. And lastly, it cannot contain a mathematical operation like plus or minus inside the name. So see, let's see these examples of unvalid names. First, this variable name starts with 2, which is a number, so this is not valid. Now, next, the variable name my minus var contains a mathematical operation minus in it, so this is also not valuable. So my space var, this is also not valid. Now moving on to built-in data types of Python. So first we have string, which is defined with quotation marks. Next we have int, which is literally defined by integer. Next we have float. To define float, we have to use a decimal point. Now next we have complex numbers. To define complex numbers, we have to j, which is root under -1. Next we have list, which has the square brackets and comma. Now a tuple is similar to list but with rounded brackets. Now there is something called range, we will come back to later. And there is dict. So dict is your typical JSON. So there is key value pairs. Now set is like list, but it cannot contain any duplicates. So any duplicates will be disregarded. Now there is booleans, so true and false. And there is byte. Byte starts with b. And there is none type. So if we run this, I can see that 2 is of class int, 10.2 is of class float. So every built-in data type is defined as a class, and so on. Now moving forward to the multiple assignments. So Python allows directly unpacking iterable things. Like over here I have unpacked the tuple into the variables a, b and c. So the a, b and c will hold the respective values 10, 20 and 30, which are inside the tuple. So this unpacking is called multiple assignments. As you can see, a is 10, b is 20 and c is 30. Now typecasting. I will show 3 type of typecastings in Python. So first we have int. So this method will always return a int, and the input to this method can be a integer literal, a float where the output will remove the decimal part of the float and return the int only, and lastly the input also can be a string literal, which is a whole number. So let's see this in action. So first I'll define x as int of 1 and y as int of 12.2, where 0.2 will be removed, and z as int of string 20. So inside string 20, 20 is the whole number, which will be the value of z. So let's print this and let's see their types. So as you can see, everything has been converted into int. This is typecasting to int. Now next, we can also typecast to float. This method will always return a float and take in input as a float literal. So any float can go inside it, and a string literal of which is a float. So like for example, x we can assign to float of 88.9 and y we can do a string of 23.5. So as the string literal is representing a float inside it, it will be converted into a float using this method. Now the last type of typecasting I want to discuss is string. So a variety of things in Python can be converted into string, typecasted into string. So as you can see, x equal to string of 2, x equal to string of 23.5 which is float, and then x equal to string of a string. As you can see, all of them has been converted to the data type of string. Now string formatting I am using for a while now in this tutorial. So let's see how that works. So name equals to Duke, age equal to 22 and likes equals to game. Two string and one integer I have defined over here. Let's try to write a formatted string containing all these variables. So if you remember, the string is defined with quotation marks. Similar to that, the formatted string is also declared by quotation marks, but in front of that we have f to let the Python interpreter know that this is a formatted string. So inside that we can use curly braces to write any Python expression, also variables. Now the string will be created with the actual values of the variables. So as you can see, the name, age and likes has been replaced with their respective values. Now there is another way to do this. Inside a string we can use curly braces to assign indexes. So I am assigning 0, 1 and 2, and after that you have to use the dot format method, which will take in a list of arguments where according to the index the values will be replaced. So name will be at 0th index, age will be at first index and likes will be at second index. Now there is another way to define a string. So a string we just used quotation marks. We can also use triple quotation marks, which is a little bit different than the normal assignment. As you can see, in this triple quotation marks we are also preserving the line endings. The strings are indexed in Python, which means that every character inside a string will have a index assigned to them. So let's define a string. ASTR I am defining as this is a very long string. So inside this we can index any we can get any character with index. So 0th index is T, first index is H, the 6th index is S and so on. Now we can do slicing. So 0 to 4. So from 0 to 4 we are doing slicing. Now if I write -1, what is before 0 is actually the last element. So this will get the entire string. But you have to notice something, that in the end of the string the G is not selected, which means that this slicing in Python will have a specific property. So it does not include the -1th index. So let's see this in action and try to understand it. I'll define a string of numbers with 0 to 1. Now if I print 0 to 3, which should be 0, 1, 2, 3, but the print message only shows 0, 1, 2. So essentially if we have an indexing A to B, then A is inclusive. So A will be included, where the B, the ending of the slicing, will be excluded. So if you want to include 3, you have to do 0 to 4 slicing. Now there is a stepping method also. So from in this example we are first selecting 0 to 8, where 8 is exclusive, so it will get 0 to 7, and after the colon, after the second colon we have 2, so every second entry will be selected. So 0, 2, 4, like that. This is called step. So slicing in Python is something like this. A is included, which is the starting of the slice. B is excluded, which is the ending of the slice, and after that we have the step size. We'll learn more about slicing in the list videos. Anyway, string is iterable, so we can do something like for loop on top of string. Now some common string methods I want to discuss. I'll actually again define a string. We will work on this. So we have a method called upper, which will convert all the characters of the string to uppercase, and we have lower. So let me add some uppercase so you can see that it is actually converting everything to lower. So as you can see, everything has been converted to lowercase. Now I will add some empty space. As you can see in the print, the empty space are showing up. But if you do dot strip, so this dot strip method will strip all the empty spaces from the beginning and the end. Now very useful method is dot replace. So dot replace it takes two arguments. First is string literal we want to replace, and the second one is we want to replace with. So S will be replaced with P, and as you can see this is case sensitive. Now I'll just add some more elements in the string, and let's see. So over here I'll do a string dot split. So dot split takes in a string literal which we want to split with. So the output will be a list which will be split at the string literals that is defined, and it will give me the list. So I can do with comma, space, or any kind of string literal. Now we can use this to modify a string in a chain. So let's see. So for a underscore string we are doing upper, so we are converting everything to upper. Then we will do strip, so we will remove the white spaces. Now we will do dot replace with, we will replace I with x, and then we will split everything with space. So we have all the words where I is replaced with x. Now we can also do replace by comma, split by comma. Now we can also do concatenation on string. So for concatenation of string we will be using the plus operator, but you have to make sure that both sides of the plus operator is a string literal itself, so we cannot concat a string with an int. Now concatenation is similar to string formatting. So moving forward to with booleans, I'll just make sections so it is easier to understand. So we can do a equals to true. So a is a boolean and we can directly print the value of a. Now we can use the comparison operators. So all the comparison operators in Python will return a boolean type. So equals equals is a boolean where only one equal sign is an assignment. So this is not an assignment, this is a comparison. So it is comparing the left hand side with the right hand side. Now we can do print 10 less than 2, of course that will return as false. Now 10 greater than 2, which will return true. So all the comparison operators will return a boolean. Now there is a bool typecast. Bool typecast works in a very useful manner. So as you can see, using the bool typecast, we can detect which string is empty and which string is not. So this also will come to play for list in the future. So with this bool typecasting, we can see if a string is empty or not. Now moving forward to with numbers. Like I'll just define a and b, two integers, or you can take float also, anything. So integer and float combination also works. So these are some basic operators, mathematical operators. So a plus b, a minus b, a into b, a divided by b, then a mod b, and next we can do a to the power b. So this is a to the raised to the power b. Now we also have the float division. I'll just add a string to identify them in the terminal. As you can see, the results are what is expected. The float division will actually return a rounded, it will round the division to the nearest whole number. And that's it for this video. It is a bit longer than my attention span, so I hope you guys can finish this up till the end. Next time we'll be learning about lists. Thank you.